Nah, teman-teman sekalian, langsung saja kita akan undang untuk bisa bergabung dengan kita. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one and only Dr. Elliot Cleveland.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. I know from watching videos of marching band in Indonesia that there are some things that are the same and there are some things that are completely different. You do some very intense endurance training and endurance competitions with the bands that we need to make sure you're prepared for, as well as some very fast-paced movements that we have to make sure you understand and your performers understand how they need to be preparing their bodies. There was a study quite a while ago in the drum corps world in DCI about a quad drummer and what his heart rate and his oxygen demands were while he was playing on the field. And he had the heart rate of a world-class sprinter, and he had the oxygen demands of a world-class marathon runner. So you know already that you and your performers are out there trying to sprint marathons. And in Indonesia, that is part of the competition. Can you actually go the distance with what you're doing? So the very first thing I want to talk to you about is what are the most common mistakes that I see bands make. If we can identify the mistakes, then we can create solutions to the problems and make them customized for how you compete and how each instrument needs to prepare and compete. So here's what we're going to do. Let me flip this around so I can share my screen with you. Number one, the number one mistake I see bands make is what I call static stretching. I don't want to see a marching band sitting around in a circle reaching for their toes before rehearsal or holding one position for a prolonged period of time. If you are going to move and do what you do performance-wise and do your 800 kilometers, 8,000 kilometers, or meters, not kilometers, but if you are going to compete at that high of a level, we want you to use movement to get your body ready for that. So when we say warm up, I don't want you to go sit and stretch. Static stretching, meaning prolonged holds of stretching, holding a position for 30 seconds or a minute, has actually been shown to decrease your muscle strength for up to an hour after you do that activity. Your rehearsals are not very long to begin with. So if you weaken yourself for the first hour, you are starting from behind. If you are going into a performance, especially an endurance performance, and you are statically stretching prior to that performance, you have gone ahead and set yourself behind before you even try to have the endurance it takes to do the activity that you do. The opposite of that is what we call dynamic stretching or a dynamic warm-up. That is when we use actual movements, dynamic movements, constant movements to get blood flowing to your muscles and get your joints and tendons loosened up prior to performing. The motions that you do at your hips and your knees when you are marching are pretty explosive, and you need to be prepared for those. You won't get prepared for those by holding a static stretch. You will get prepared for those by doing movements that are very similar to the actual marching movement itself. Using performance movements is the dynamic warm-up, and that will prepare your brain for the activity you're about to go do. And we want your heart rate up at the exact same time, because that increased heart rate is what's going to pump blood throughout your body and get it ready for activity. Next, I see a lot of groups do too much running. Granted, if you're competing in the long endurance events, you need to be able to do a lot of endurance training. However, marching is not exactly running. Those are not the same things. They do have some carryover, but just like playing your instrument or spinning a flag is a skill, so is marching. You won't get better at marching by running. They use different muscles and different cadences, different speeds to compete. So I don't want you to say, hey, I need to go run X amount just because that's what I happen to do while I am competing. Instead, I want you to do interval training and really build up to that. So if you are marching for a set distance, practice marching that more than you practice running that. Do the thing, do the activity that you are training for. Don't just go run for it. If you need to improve your ability to sprint or do fast-paced marching, then you need to train fast-paced marching and fast-paced sprinting. So the point here that says interval training versus endurance running, if you are going to be really good at the endurance portion, make sure that you are training for the endurance portion. If you're going to be really good at the intervals, train for the intervals. You're not going to be ready to do that during the first few months of training and practicing. You have to slowly build into it. And you need to have a plan written out that has a gradual progression to it. Most of your movements are forward to backward. They're in that front plane of motion. So the thing that we often neglect is actually the side-to-side muscles in your body. We only train these muscles and we totally neglect the muscles on your sides here and the muscles on your back. The same thing applies to your hips. You don't build up the lateral, the outside hip muscles, and that's what causes a lot of knee injuries and shoulder injuries. It's called muscle imbalances. That's the next point. We want you to train total body 360 degrees of muscles so that you aren't walking around here like the Hulk with a really strong upper body and a really weak lower body, or vice versa. You need to make sure that if you do push-ups, you're also going home and working on some rows or some pull-ups and building the muscles on the back side of your shoulder. If you are doing some calf raises, you also need to do some shin and toe raises. You don't just need to work one plane of motion. You need multiple planes of motion to be able to hold your instrument up and keep it steady and stable for that long of a time period. The things that you're asking your performers to do are borderline insane, right? But we love it and we call it band, and we got to be ready for that. So think, when you are thinking of workout programming and getting your students in shape and your performers in shape, remember Newton's law in physics. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. If you train just the front side of the body, you're missing and neglecting the muscles on the back and the sides, and vice versa. Or if you only train endurance, you will neglect the speed and sprint. Or if you only train the speed and sprint, you neglect the endurance. You have to balance it out. The training plans that you create have to create a balance. All right, we want to pause for a second.
Alright, so teman-teman semua, kita akan bahasnya pelan-pelan ya per beberapa slide. Thank you Dr. Elliot. Nah, di sini ada aku sama Kak Nimon. Kak Nimon mau duluan atau mau aku duluan, Kak?
Oke, ini di wrap up dulu bentar ya, di recap.
Boleh.
So, Dr. Elliot, actually, most of them is asking about what kind of the stretching that you said that endurance and also the short action. But you can answer it later. I will translate the first three or your slide first.
Okay. You just tell me when to switch slides.
Yes. Oke, thank you. Oke teman-teman, saya catat beberapa ini ya dari ini yang pertama static stretching ya. Jadi itu sebenarnya tidak baik untuk di marching band, hanya diam di tempat saja ya tuh seperti yang Pak Elliot peragakan. Jadi dynamic stretching akan lebih baik karena itu akan membiasakan pola pikir dan pemikiran kita terhadap fisik kita, terhadap tubuh kita dan saraf-saraf kita untuk biasa untuk karena kita kan yang kita lakukan tuh ya kalau nggak display atau LUG ya itu kan berjalan terus, kadang ngerem, kadang jalan ya kayak lalu lintas macet aja ya itu kan dinamis ya. Nah ada juga kita LBJP sprint terus dan selesai itu hanya dalam beberapa menit gitu dan itu butuh tenaga yang banyak. Nah itu kalau untuk static stretching itu nggak cocok, apalagi untuk endurance ya, endurance seperti kita latihan sehari itu kan butuh endurance yang tinggi, dan juga untuk LKKB itu nggak cocok untuk kurang baik untuk static stretching karena nggak membiasakan kita untuk mendapatkan performa yang baik. Oke, next slide. Oke, terus dalam latihan pemanasan, biasa kita kan ada yang sebutnya itu pemanasan, ada yang bilangnya ini apa sih stretching gitu ya. Terlalu banyak lari itu nggak bagus karena marching band itu nggak semuanya kardio ya. Jadi harus dikombin antara interval training dan endurance training gitu ya. Karena kan kadang kita ada ada sprint ya. Sprint kadang-kadang ada yang santai, kadang ada pacingnya lebih lambat gitu. Jadi terlalu banyak lari itu akan merusak karena otot yang terbagi ini ada di slide berikutnya itu otot yang terbagi itu nggak stabil. Bayu ada tambahan, Bayu?
Ya, mungkin lebih ke arah ini juga sih Kak, bahwa ketika kita melihat tadi kebutuhannya buat di LBJP, LKKB itu ternyata memang sangat dinamis, kita tuh harus mempersiapkan tubuh kita, otot-otot kita dari mulai heart rate-nya atau detak jantungnya, kemudian hips kita, lalu lutut kita, itu semua harus dipersiapkan supaya bisa menghadapi tantangan, dalam tanda kutip, yang akan dihadapi saat melakukan mata lomba tersebut gitu. Makanya tadi di awal Dr. Elliot bilang bahwa akan lebih baik dan lebih efektif kalau kita itu pakainya yang dynamic stretching daripada yang static stretching. Karena kalau kita static stretching justru malah akan menurunkan performa dari otot-ototnya, bahkan bisa sampai 1 jam setelah kita pemanasan gitu. Jadi kita dari sekarang udah harus lebih menggunakan dynamic stretching, jangan sampai kita salah lagi, masih pemanasannya itu adalah yang diem di tempat, yang cuma stretching kaki aja dan sebagainya. Nah, lalu juga tadi yang poin kedua tentang yang berlari, bahwa karena memang kita itu nggak semuanya kardio, nggak cuma tentang kardio aja, jadi memang harus ada kombinasi ya teman-teman antara training yang interval sama training yang endurance gitu. Jadinya kita itu bisa membangun otot-otot kita itu secara maksimal dan nggak cuma dari sisi kardionya aja. Dan memang pastinya di bulan-bulan pertama nggak akan langsung kebangun nih ya kemampuan tubuh para atlet untuk bisa enduro dengan ketahanan fisik yang luar biasa, karena memang yang namanya membangun badan itu kan harus slowly build, jadi harus pelan-pelan dengan proses, lalu juga ada plan of motion-nya. Jadi kita harus punya perencanaan teman-teman tadi yang disampaikan oleh Dr. Elliot gitu kan, kapan kita harus latihan enduro, kapan diselingi lagi dengan yang interval training gitu kan, supaya kita bisa balancing semuanya, karena kita nggak akan bisa jadi lebih baik, performer kita nggak akan jadi lebih baik kalau misalnya kita cuma mengandalkan lari, karena nggak cuma kardio gitu. Lalu yang poin ketiga, nah, can we go to the third slide, Dr. Elliot?
Yes, before we do, I want you to take note of the body type of the individuals on this slide. Very lean. Then the body type on this slide,
Yes.
Hulk style. For a marcher, someone who is a performer, you need to think of them having a body type similar to an elite soccer player or volleyball player. That in between of having muscle, having tone, but also having the endurance to go the long way without necessarily being as skinny as a marathon runner. So finding the balance of how you train is really important. It's got to be a balance.
Ya, jadi teman-teman kita harus lihat juga ya, misalnya di dalam kehidupan olahraga aja tuh, kalau kita lihat atlet-atlet profesional itu pasti kayak pemain bola atau mungkin pelari gitu ya, mereka tuh punya badan yang proporsional. Artinya otot-otot yang dibangun itu rata gitu ya teman-teman, otot depan, otot samping, otot bawah gitu kan. Bukan kayak Hulk yang mungkin cuma lengannya aja atau cuma chest-nya aja, dadanya aja yang besar, tapi semuanya. Nah, kadang kita itu hanya berfokus pada part-part tertentu sehingga kita tuh malah mengajarkan muscle imbalance atau kita membangun otot secara tidak seimbang buat atlet kita. Nah, justru ini malah jadi bumerang teman-teman, karena kita ketika membangun ketahanan fisik dari atlet kita harus ingat juga nih ada Newton's Law ini ya, bahwa untuk setiap aksi yang dilakukan ada reaksi yang sama. Jadi kalau misalnya kita terlalu fokus terlalu fokus membangun otot yang di badan depan, maka otot yang di badan belakang justru akan semakin lemah gitu. Nah, justru kita harus bisa balancing, depan dibangun, belakang dibangun, samping dibangun, sehingga ketika kita melakukan berbagai macam tantangan dalam tantangan fisik terutama ya dalam hal ini untuk para atlet, kita bisa menghindari cedera di bagian-bagian otot-otot yang mungkin selama ini tidak kita garap ya, untuk lengannya, untuk hipsnya. Kalau memang semuanya sudah terbangun dan semuanya terlatih, maka tubuhnya akan lebih siap untuk menghadapi segala macam tantangan fisik tersebut kalau balance. Nah, Kak Nimon ada ditambahkan, Kak?
Ya, intinya ya tadi ada sempat disinggung juga dari Pak Elliot tadi bahwa pemain tenor quintom gitu ya, sextetom sama pemain bariton itu ada beberapa bagian otot yang sebenarnya berbeda, yang pelatihannya juga beda gitu. Jadi nanti mungkin akan dicontohkan sama khususnya per section ya sama Pak Elliot yang cocoknya bagaimana. Nah, nanti juga ada Kak Bayu tolong disampaikan tuh ada pertanyaan penting dynamic stretching buat LBJP apa gitu ya. Karena itu yang paling momok, yang paling bikin kita dagdikduk ya kalau di PDBI ya.
Siap, Kak Nimon. Teman-teman boleh ya yang masih mau bertanya terus aja sampaikan, nanti kita akan bantu tanyakan ke Dr. Elliot. Oke, Dr. Elliot, you can continue to the next slide.
All right. I try to explain to people that when they exercise is the best medicine. We try as physical therapists to replace a lot of unnecessary medications with proper exercise prescription. So just like medicine, you can't do too little exercise or it won't do anything for you. And just like medication, if you do too much, you're going to have side effects. So if I was to have everyone on this call right now drop and do 50 push-ups, they would probably be really sore tomorrow because it was too much. It would have side effects. But if we just sit here and don't do anything, we're not going to get any results out of it. The exact same thing has to happen as you progress through a season. You can't keep taking the same dosage of medication for one thing forever because your body's going to change over time. When you are going through a 4-year window time period, when you're competing in Indonesia, you can't do the same workouts the first month that you do the last month before a championship. You have to be progressing, and you also have to make sure that you're not doing too much or too little. You have to be finding the right spot. It's like the old bedtime story about Goldilocks and the bears. You have to be finding that right balance, not too hot a soup, not too cold a soup, just that right warm soup. It's the exact same way with exercise. Make sure that you're doing the amount of cardio that you need, not too much cardio, not too little cardio. You're doing the amount of upper body strengthening that you need and leg strengthening. Beyond that, you have to make sure that the number of repetitions you do is exactly what you need. exactly what you need for the first month of training, and then change it up and get to the exact amount you need at the last month before championships. So, for example, when I was first starting exercising, I couldn't even do a single push-up. So I had to do modified push-ups from a table, hands on a table, just trying to do a push-up like this, just leaning over like that to build up strength. That was the dosage that I had to have at the start. Now I can get on the ground and I can do 50 to 100 push-ups. If I was to do the table push-ups now, it wouldn't have any impact on me. The same thing applies to your performers. There's an amount of population of your performers that needs to start slowly, and there's a group that probably is a little bit more fit, and you've got to challenge them. You have to go through the whole spectrum of athletes that you have, marching athletes, and make sure that each person's getting the right dosage and that your ensemble's getting the right dosage. The next thing is consistency matters. There's a lot of people in the marching band world who go all out trying to get in shape, and it lasts for about a month. And then when championships roll around, they wonder why they weren't ready. Same thing I'm sure happens in your band. You commit to staying in shape and you commit to get the physical side of training, but you realize a ways into your program practices that it's more important for you to practice your instrument, or it's more important for you to practice the drill moves. You still have to be consistent with the training. All the groups I work with do 15 minutes of exercise. That's it. I don't ask them to go do an hour because that's too much. They won't be consistent. And I make sure they're not doing 5 minutes because that's not enough. You have to find an amount of time that works for you to be able to be consistent. It takes 6 to 8 weeks just for your body to adapt to exercise. So if you want to actually get in shape and you want to improve your times on the 800 meter, all of those events that you do, you have to train beyond 6 to 8 weeks. For 6 to 8 weeks, it's called neural adaptation. My brain is just getting used to physical exercise. I don't actually grow any muscles or improve my cardio until after 6 to 8 weeks. So a lot of people go to the gym or start working out and never see the results because they stopped too soon. This has to become a lifestyle that you make, and you have to do it in a way that you can commit to. That's why I don't have people go do this for an hour a day. I have them do it 15 minutes each rehearsal, something small that adds up over time versus trying to do too much too soon. So that's the extremes of training point here. There's a lot of groups that start with too much and they can't keep it up. And there's a lot of people that start with too little and never see results. The next one is putting the wrong person in charge. I spend half of our time when we teach clinics devoted just to the leadership teams, because I know that if the leadership team does not buy in, and the leadership, the performers, the captains, the student leaders, if they can't teach this stuff, no one else will want to do it. They have to actually be trained in the exercises, and they need to be the ones, not the directors. The students need to be the ones leading it. That gives them a chance to practice their skills, practice their speaking, their communication, their motivation skills with their peers. And that is what is going to set you up for long-term success when it comes to getting your group into shape. You also need to make sure that it's an athlete who is doing this, the more athletic person in the ensemble. That's not always the drum major or not always the first person in charge. You may need to select who is good at actual fitness exercises to be able to teach these things. When I was in band, we had a very unathletic drum major trying to teach this, and so we didn't get very far because he couldn't do it. It has to be the right person. And once you find that right person, you need to make sure they understand it's their responsibility now. One of the leadership lessons we teach is that you can only give what you have. You can't just go into this and put somebody in a place of responsibility that doesn't understand how to teach it. Make sure that the person you put in charge is the right fit for this. All right, quick break and then we'll finish up with the last two.
Alright, silakan Kak Dimon, kita mulai dari slide keempat.
Ya, slide keempat. Can we back to the fourth slide? Yes, thank you. Oke, saran saya yang teman-teman bisa screenshot ya. Jadi habis screenshot, habis itu dicatat bagian sininya penjelasannya ya, habis di screenshot gitu. Jadi lebih dapat semua, in case nggak dapat materinya, tapi udah nyimpen bahannya gitu ya. Karena ini penting sekali dan bagus. Tadi Kak Sehat juga saranin ini bagus sekali poin per poinnya, jadi harus dicatat detailnya ya gitu. Nah, kadar latihannya ini pure exercise dosage itu kadar latihannya harus disesuaikan dengan kebutuhan perkembangan tubuh. Jadi tadi yang diceritakan ada beberapa tuh orang ada itu yang latihannya cuman ya sekedar aja kewajiban aja latihan segini udah setengah jam latihannya materinya itu aja ya entah itu static stretching segala macam latihannya itu aja dari mulai proyek di awal sampai perlombaan sama aja. Nah itu yang kesalahan yang umumnya terjadi. Jadi sebaiknya itu disesuaikan karena tubuh itu beradaptasi makin lama akan makin baik. Kalau latihannya benar itu akan makin bagus. Jadi butuh pengulangan misalnya push up-nya jadi misalnya push up atau larinya push up atau pull up-nya 10 akan naik dan naik. Jadi akan bertahap naik terus. Jadi dosis yang pas untuk sesuai kebutuhan yang pas. Begitu juga nanti itu kita belum bahas detail ya per section per ini, tapi yang jelas semakin kalau dilakukan dengan benar itu akan butuh pengulangan yang lebih banyak lagi atau repetisi yang lebih banyak lagi untuk latihannya. Jadi butuh dosis yang lebih besar lagi. Nah, ini harus ada yang orang yang in charge yang benar-benar harus pahami hal-hal seperti itu. Pahami untuk mencatat orang ini belum bisa, jadi harus bisa lebih naik lagi. Bayu ada tambahan? Kita per slide aja Bayu ya.
Ya, mungkin sedikit aja dari aku adalah kita harus melihat juga bagaimana tim kita, karena kan pasti yang namanya atlet dalam sebuah tim itu ada yang lebih kuat, ada yang lebih lemah. Jadi kita lihat seluruh spektrumnya dari pemain-pemain kita, supaya kita itu bisa menentukan bahwa setiap orang itu mendapatkan dalam tanda kutip dosis yang tepat untuk trainingnya mereka. Jangan sampai yang lemah mendapatkan challenge terlalu tinggi atau yang udah kuat mendapatkan challenge terlalu rendah gitu. Makanya tadi Kak Nimon juga sudah sampaikan harus ada orang yang bisa memberikan analisa dan observasi setiap orangnya itu sudah sampai level mana dan bisa di-challenge seberapa besar. Apakah yang bersangkutan sudah siap untuk menerima tambahan challenge, tambahan repetisi sehingga dalam program yang dibuat dalam mungkin 2 tahun misalnya tiap bulannya itu ada progres ya teman-teman gitu.
Oke, next slide please. Thank you. Inconsistent ya, ini ya harus konsisten ya, maksudnya sama ya kayak latihan musik. Kalau saya perkusi ya sticking itu harus setiap hari gitu ya, setiap hari karena itu akan menghilang seiring sarafnya nggak terlatih. Sama ya, sama dengan tubuh ini penting sekali, ini butuh 6-8 minggu loh untuk saraf-saraf itu beradaptasi terhadap perubahan tubuh. Artinya kalau kita cuman fitness, bayar keanggotaan fitness cuma sebulan doang, pasti nggak akan ngefek gitu ya. Jadi kalau fitness tuh ya minimal 6 bulan gitu ya, baru kelihatan ada hasilnya gitu. Nah jadi harus konsisten yang penting. Nah, dan kedua adalah latihan yang ekstrim, terlalu sedikit atau terlalu banyak. Terlalu banyak itu bahaya juga ya, nggak bagus. Jadi konsisten itu harus benar-benar konsisten terhadap latihan. Sama ya harus dipikir sama aja kalau kayak di musik, kan ini kan di sportnya ya, di musik ataupun di pergerakan koreo gitu ya. Itu kan latihannya dikit-dikit dulu ya. Makin lama makin jago mainnya, makin nambah materinya. Makin jago, makin nambah tantangannya. Persis di fisik juga harus digitukan karena badan harus adaptasi seperti muscle memory. Yes, is it correct? Muscle memory we need to train.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, something like that. Oke, Bayu.
Ya, cukup Kak, udah lengkap nomor 5.
Oke, next slide please. Nah, ini saya dulu ngalamin nih waktu latihan nih. Oke, yang mimpin pemanasan sekarang ini gitu. Padahal dia nggak bisa gitu, nggak ngerti. Nah, ini ngefeknya ternyata besar sekali. Efek kemana-mana. Jadi orang-orang yang semua pemain, semua atlet akan mendapatkan kesalahan yang sama dari pemimpin stretching yang salah gitu. Hanya simpel aja loh, salah pilih pemimpin stretching, efeknya kemana-mana. Jadi ini harus detail, harus orang yang paham sekali, harus orang yang paham pergerakannya apa, otot mana yang harus dilakukan, dan kebutuhannya apa sesuai program yang ada, gitu kan. Tadi yang baik dari dynamic maupun statik tadi. Jadi harus semuanya harus di itu ya, saling berhubungan ya dari awal tadi ya, dynamic sama statik tadi hubungannya ke sini untuk kesesuaian kita latihannya apa, bagaimana. Oke, Bayu, silakan.
Ya betul, karena teman-teman semua harus ingat juga bahwa di sini udah ada quote yang penting banget, bahwa you can only give what you have. Jadi kalau misalnya kita sampai salah menentukan orang yang memimpin stretching, ya yang bersangkutan itu hanya bisa memberikan arahan sesuai kemampuan dia. Nah kalau ternyata dia memberikan arahan yang salah, maka nanti hasilnya juga akan salah. Gitu. Makanya kita sebagai pelatihnya atau sebagai band manager, kita harus betul-betul menentukan siapa nih yang memang memiliki kapasitas untuk bisa membantu teman-temannya dan memang paham bagaimana untuk bisa mengajarkan gerakan yang tepat, teknik yang tepat untuk bisa melatih fisiknya gitu. Alright, Dr. Elliot, we can proceed to the 7th slide.
Everybody has to stand up for this one.
Oke. Ayo semua berdiri.
Yeah.
Semua harus berdiri katanya.
So,
kita berdiri sama-sama teman-teman.
Mistake number 7 is not doing balance training. Most of your time is spent marching on one leg, not two. So to practice that, we're going to change the angle here. I'm going to widen my camera. You're going to practice one leg. Oh, this is Sam. Come here, Sam. Say hello. This is Sam.
Hi, Sam.
I want everybody to stand with just one leg and see if you can hold that position. Good. Keep your belly button pulled in. Abs nice and tight. Now I want you to close your eyes. Close your eyes. No vision. When you are marching, you don't get to look down at the ground. You have to keep your eyes up and elevated. So we want to get used to taking away your visual field. We want your vision to be removed and you still to have balance and core control for marching. Translate that for them.
Oke. Ya ini yang penting adalah salah satu yang sering tidak dilakukan adalah latihan keseimbangan. Tadi udah dicontohkan sama Kak Bayu ya. Saya dicatat. Kak Bayu nyontoin kaki diangkat satu gitu ya. Terus latihan keseimbangan, kemudian tutup matanya karena itu akan melatih benar-benar keseimbangan kita, kelurusan kita. Karena ini akan meningkatkan fokusnya dalam ini ya, dalam penggunaan otot-otot yang dilakukan.
Betul, Kak Dimon. Karena benar-benar kerasa banget pada saat kita stretching, biasanya kan hanya angkat satu kaki tapi sambil mata terbuka. Ternyata pada saat kita tutup mata dengan tidak punya visual apa-apa di depan kita, lebih susah banget untuk bisa menjaga tubuh kita tetap seimbang.
Jadi
itu
fokus
beda
ya
banget
ototnya ya.
Iya, gitu. Jadi ini penting banget buat kita bisa melatih anak-anak kita supaya bisa menjaga keseimbangan secara natural gitu. Walaupun mereka nggak lihat apa-apa, tetap bisa seimbang badannya.
Now we are going to do one leg balance on your toes to prepare you for your foot rolling when you come off the ground. Your time is not, when you march, you're not flat-footed, so we have to prep you for that. The majority of your time marching is on one leg, not two. So we want to prepare you for that balance. That actually prevents ankle and knee injuries when you can control your body like that. The time you spend on one leg as a percentage increases as you try to march faster and faster. So the harder you want to march and train, the more you need to practice your balance. So here's what we're going to do. Do this with me.
Ayo bareng-bareng.
Camera in a little bit. We're going to start on just your left leg. Right leg is in the air. Now I'm going to go onto my heel, onto my toes. I'm lifting my heel off the ground, and I'm working on my stability in that position. Build your
diangkat teman-teman.
strength for marching. You'll feel muscles burning in your lower leg, in your ankle. Now I want you to close your eyes while you do that. Try that with your eyes closed.
Oh my God. Whoa, it's so hard, doctor.
All right. So the purpose in doing that is a lot of the balance work that you have to do, you don't get to do with your foot flat to the ground. So you have to be prepared to have stability in those challenging positions. Then I have people take their eyes and remove them, close their eyes, because I don't want you looking down at the ground while you march. I want you to be comfortable with where your body is in space, have coordination in that, and be able to project up to the judges. Your job is to perform to the audience, not to the field or the ground or the gym floor.
Okay. So.
Gue dulu ya, bentar ya.
Ya silakan Kak Nimon.
Ini penting ya, this percentage increases as tempo increases. Jadi sebenarnya ketika kita display LUG, apalagi LBJP ya, itu ya, ada juga LKKB, kadang-kadang kita harus ngatur tempo gitu ya. Itu tuh sebenarnya semua yang dominannya adalah satu kaki, kita berdiri satu kaki dan pakai bagian depan kan, pakai bagian depan bukan pakai bagian belakang, bukan rata gitu. Nah itu yang harus dilatih terhadap balancing karena semuanya itu satu kaki pada dasarnya, benar-benar satu kaki aja gitu. Nah itu tadi latihan yang dilakukan Bayu bisa kasih penjelasan. Jadi intinya makin meningkat temponya, makin sering kita sebenarnya makin balance, kita harus makin seimbang berdiri satu kakinya. Ini penting banget yang kadang-kadang terlewatkan detailnya gitu, bahwa kenyataannya kita tuh berdiri satu kaki itu makin sering ketika temponya naik. Makanya tempo naik resiko jatuh lebih gede karena nggak dilatih latihan keseimbangan satu kaki seperti yang akan dibilang Bayu berikut ini.
Betul teman-teman. Jadi kalau misalnya kita mau menghindari cedera di atlet-atlet kita, maka atlet kita pun harus memiliki keseimbangan satu kaki yang jauh lebih baik. Apalagi untuk mata-mata lomba kayak LBJP yang tadi Kak Nimon bilang, semakin cepat temponya ya berarti semakin banyak juga kita pakai satu kaki sebetulnya. Cuman selama ini kita itu biasanya hanya melakukan training seperti ini dengan posisi kakinya itu rata sama tanah kan teman-teman. Padahal kan langkah kita tuh nggak rata begini. Tapi kita kan begini ya teman-teman kalau kita melangkah. That's why ketika kita melakukan latihan seperti tadi angkat satu kaki, coba ketika angkat satu kaki, ujung kaki depannya dinaikin, ya tumitnya diangkat. Lalu setelah itu kita pejamkan mata, karena pastinya ketika anak-anak kita melakukan LBJP ataupun apapun itu di lapangan, kan tidak mungkin mereka melihat ke bawah dan melihat tanah, tapi mereka harus projecting themselves to the audience, to the judges, harus memberikan mata mereka itu ke depan, ke atas kan teman-teman. Jadi dengan kita menutup mata, kita melatih anak-anak kita untuk bisa menjaga keseimbangan walaupun mereka tidak melihat ke bawah, dan posisi kakinya bisa balance dalam satu kaki dengan keadaan kakinya seolah-olah lagi berjalan dengan tumit yang diangkat seperti tadi. Jadi itu bisa banget dicoba teman-teman. Mungkin selama ini this is one little thing yang kita nggak pernah lakukan di Indonesia. Gitu. Dr. Elliot?
All right, the last point is proper shoe wear. So you have to make sure, you can do this right now with me. Everybody take their shoes off. Show me what you're wearing on your feet right now. I want you to really put a lot of energy and investment into what is on your feet. If you don't have the best shoe wear on for you, then you are much more likely to have foot and leg injuries. I can prevent about half the injuries that we see due to marching band by just getting good shoe wear on the members' feet. Some things that you want to look out for. Your shoe should not be able to be twisted up like a burrito or like a Twizzler. So I shouldn't be able to take your shoe and twist it very far. I see a lot of marching performers with shoes like Vans or Converse that just are not adequate for actual marching band. That if your shoe can twist from this direction, if it twists a ton, then that is not a shoe that is going to give you the stability you need. It should go this way. So you should have flexibility toe to heel. You should not have a ton of flexibility this direction, straight down the middle. That's something you need to look for, and you need to make sure that you get a foot that feels good on your foot. Sorry, you get a shoe that feels good on your foot. Don't go buy a shoe because somebody told you that was a great shoe for band. If it doesn't feel good on your foot, it's not going to get you through the season. You're going to get hurt wearing it. Everyone has feet that are structurally different. That's why I can't say, hey, you should go wear Nikes, or you should go wear Adidas or Brooks. You need to find the shoe that works for you and prevents shin splints and tendinitis and knee pain and hip pain. That can all be prevented if you get the right shoe on your foot.
Okay. We direct interpret now. So jadi sepatu penting sekali ya ternyata ya. Tapi untuk latihan sepatu penting. So how about for the performance? They have the same shoes, right, Mr. Elliot?
Yes, that's a different story. You do what you got to do on performance day. On practice day, you better have shoes that feel good on your foot, or if you're practicing at home.
Ya, untuk latihan itu sepatunya harus benar ya. Yang tadi bisa di stretchingnya depan belakang gitu ya, bukan samping kiri kanan. Nah, itu penting sekali sepatu latihan untuk efektivitas latihan kita supaya otot-otot kita berkembang dengan lebih baik lagi. Oke?
Yap, betul. Sudah lengkap.
Okay, please.
All right.
Okay.
I was thinking next we could do the dynamic warm-up together if they're up for it.
Oh, baik.
Ya dong. So teman-teman, kita mau diajakin buat ikutan dynamic warm-up bareng-bareng sama Dr. Elliot ya. Teman-teman, are you guys ready?
Gue harus ikut nih.
Boleh ambil space yang lebih besar. Kita akan dynamic warm up sama-sama ya teman-teman. Ayo, boleh berdiri, boleh siap-siap, boleh mundur semuanya. Okay, make yourself comfortable to do the exercise.
So you'll imagine that you are on the field right now. We are going to take exercises from a slow progression to a fast progression. We're going to warm up from the ground up. So we're going to start with some foot and ankle exercises, then progress to hip and knee exercises, then eventually total body strengthening to be able to hold your horn upright and do that for a long period of time. And this is especially going to help with the high speed and endurance marches and competitions that you go through. So,
okay, ini I interpret first. Oke, ini kita latihan ankle ya, latihan bawah. Ini berguna untuk ketahanan, endurance ya, dan tempo tinggi. Oke, please, thank you.
All right. I want you to go up, have your horn in a set position, go onto your toes, so you can see me from the side. We're going to flex your feet up like this. That's called ankle pumps. I'm going to do that for 5 yards, and then I'm going to go into forwards marching. That's going to help you get the bend that you need at your foot and ankle to be able to march well. So that's ankle pumps. I'm going to do that down and back on your field. The next exercise is called high knees. So you're going to pull your knee up to your chest and alternate that. You can do that in place. Then you're going to do fast high knees. Good, try to get that knee up, and you can see from this plane, you want that 90-degree angle. All right, the next one is called butt kicks. You're gonna take your ankle, grab it, and pull it straight behind you. So I'm trying to pull it backwards, like this. And you'll feel it stretch on the front of your hips. Alternate sides. And then do fast butt kicks in place, which will prepare you for some of those faster stops that you have. And you're gonna feel it in the muscles on the back of your legs. Good. Next is called front kicks. You're just gonna raise your leg up to the front as high as you can, and you'll feel it stretch down in your hamstrings as you go up. And you do that all the way across the floor. Feel it stretch back there. All right. Now we're gonna really get your legs strong. You're gonna go down into a squat.
Squat ya, squat.
Walk.
Oh.
Jalan squat ya.
Wow.
Then turn it around and go into a bear crawl.
Nah, ini bear claw ya. Ini yang paling berat ini bear claw ini sebenarnya kalau buat saya.
Pelatihnya harus bisa juga nih. It's kind of hard for the trainer, you know, with the bellies on.
Yeah, the bear claw is very hard for me.
For me too.
Then to work some more of the lateral motions. So if you have any move where you have to turn, we want you to develop that. We're going to do cariokas side to side like this. After that, quad strength, thigh strength is really important for groups. So we want to build up the power they have in their legs for the fast pace, the speed competitions you guys have. So we're gonna do what I call Super Mario jumps, like Mario and Luigi, jumping over a Venus flytrap. You're gonna leap into the air as high as you can and do that all the way across the floor. And you're gonna start to feel that burn in your thighs. Then the last thing that I have groups do is a sprint, down and back. Run as fast as you can, then come back, have a partner that you tag in and they go right after you. And the goal of that is to get your heart rate up and to get you energized for rehearsal. All right, what review do we need of those?
So this is for speed, right? Mostly effective for the speed and the high pacing.
That general warm-up will work for anything.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Some of the specifics will help more towards the speed, but it gets you warmed up for everything.
Ya, teman-teman, jadi ini tadi yang barusan dilakukan itu ya, mulai dari yang tadi awal jinjit sampai tadi yang lompat Mario tadi ya, lompat yang Mario tadi, itu semua sebenarnya rangkuman versi singkat dari untuk versi cepat untuk pemanasan supaya bisa langsung kita latihan display sebaik mungkin gitu. Nah, versi cepat. Tapi ini sangat efektif sebenarnya untuk latihan speed ya. Untuk latihan speed, kecepatan yang tinggi. Makanya tadi di endingnya terakhir adalah sprint. Jadi jantungnya langsung ngepam cepat, jadi kita langsung siap untuk latihan. Intinya seperti itu. Jadi mudah-mudahan tadi bisa direkam dan bisa dipraktekkan ya buat teman-teman. Kalau misalnya ada waktunya, kita seperti kita tahu yang latihan kita terbatas. Ini salah satu paketan yang cocok untuk supaya anak-anak langsung fokus dan fisiknya bisa langsung memulai latihan yang ada. Oke.
Next, I'm going to show you some differences between the sections. So we can talk about what's different between the percussion versus the horns versus the color guard. So for percussion, obviously, the most important thing is to build back strength and be able to hold weights for long periods of time. So I'm going to show you some exercises that we use from our specific warm-ups that will hopefully help shed some light on that. And you can do these with us if you want to. So if you are a percussionist or you teach percussion, a lot of people neglect building their leg strength. Most people think percussion needs strong abs and a strong core, but that actually begins in the hips. You have to have strong glute muscles, strong butt muscles. And the easiest way to start developing those is to get really good at squats. Build your leg strength up with squats. We're just going over very general exercises to start with that are going to be easier for people to learn right off the bat. But a squat and a Superman would be absolutely essential. That's going to give you the endurance that you need in those, what we call extensor muscles in your back, which mean your drum is on the front side. So think about the physics that we talked about earlier. You have to build the muscles on the back. If the weight is here, the strength has to come from behind you. So we want to have students be able to do these holds for a minute at least. So I have them doing 1 minute per exercise as they're going through this. And especially for the cymbal players in the audience, you have to build really strong arms. So we start you off with something like a tall plank where you have to put weight through your arms and build endurance there. Then we do something like a bridge where you're building up and pushing, using your glutes and using your back muscles to be able to propel you. So those are some starter exercises if you are in percussion that you can do really easily. The big mistake people make with drumline is they think they need to be doing ab exercises. These are not abdominal exercises. If you have ripped abs, all that tells me is that you're really good at flexing your body. Drumline never flexes their body. That's not the muscles that you need. The muscles right here actually attach here and go down to your pelvis. All they can do is bend you over. You don't want those muscles if you're a drumline member. You want back muscles. You need strong backs and you need strong legs to be able to push your drums around.
Okay, I will translate it first.
Yep.
Untuk perkusi ya, yang otot yang paling penting adalah punggung ya. Nah, detailnya itu adalah meliputi pantat, tadi pakai squats tadi ya, terus paha. Itu penting sekali. Jadi, so is it okay for the percussion, for the drumline have a big bellies? Yes, because they need the back more, right? Back and the
back.
strong leg.
They
yes.
need strong backs.
Yes. Ya, jadi itu ya anak perkusi ya. Perkusi, drumline itu punggung yang di latihannya tadi seperti yang tadi. mudah-mudahan sempat tadi dicatat dan screenshot tadi ya, beberapa latihan ada squats, ada Superman tuh penting banget tuh buat punggung dan pantat sebenarnya itu ya. Kekuatan anak perkusi itu yang fokusnya karena dia akan ngangkat beban terus ya. Oke.
All right.
Dokter, please next.
So let me flip this around and do a screen share. When I watch here, these are a lot of high knees. So Hornline needs to make sure, you see this guy, that's all knees in the air. Hornline has to do a lot of high knee exercises to build their legs. Then the second thing they do is butt kicks. They do that flip backwards. That's why when we go to, that is these two exercises right here. That needs to be in every warm-up you do. High knees and butt kicks, because that's in essentially every drill move when I'm watching these videos. Now for wins, wind players really need to improve their balance. They are the ones that are doing the majority of those turns, and they also, like we talked about earlier, spend more of their time on one leg, a lot of their time on one leg, and they often are very poor at balance when they have their instrument up high. Percussion has the advantage of their drum basically anchoring them to the ground, and their drum's a little bit lower.
Yes.
So that gives them an easier center of gravity. But when you put a horn up here, especially if it's a tuba, that works people's balance a lot more. That's why I always harp on balance training more in the winds section than I do the others. I still really focus on it with color guard and percussion, but it's twice as much with winds. Winds also have to build their arms up. So if you are a wind player and you cannot do a push-up, that is a problem. You have to be able to hold your horn up for a long period of time. And the best thing you can do is start to modify them. So like I was talking about earlier, I would do push-ups from a table height where I'm doing them like this if I couldn't do a regular push-up full out. And then I'd eventually decline that all the way down to the ground. So if you have members in your ensemble who aren't strong enough to hold their weight up in a push-up, have them start by pressing up against a wall or pressing up against bleachers with their hands, so that helps them be able to do it more effectively with good technique. You also see in this picture, he goes all the way down to the ground. You have to get that full range of motion because your horn is pretty far back here on your face. You can't just stop and have your horn out here. You got to actually pull it back to you. So we have to get those elbows back when we do push-ups. And then I harp on cardio a lot more for the wind players than I do percussion or color guard. So I have them doing more full court sprints, all out sprints to build their endurance because they have to exhale and play at the same time. So the cardio component is a lot harder than percussion, who gets to sit here and play and still be able to breathe. I will even throw in what we call breathing gym exercises for a specific number of counts. Say 2 counts in, 8 counts out. While they're doing these workouts. So that way they develop their breathing skills and move at the same time. If your winds are not practicing breathing exercises while doing physical exercises, they're not putting 2 and 2 together. They're not developing the skill of breathing while running around or marching around. Those are links that we need to connect in the teaching and in the exercise programming that we give them. All right.
It look like the horn lines is much harder than the percussion lines.
Oh, no, no, no. You didn't do the percussion workout then.
Oke, I will translate it first. Oke, teman-teman, untuk horn line yang utama tadi ya, dari awal tadi adalah latihan lutut angkat tinggi tadi ya. Mulai dari tempo lambat sampai tempo cepat. Itu kan sering dipakai juga ya, khususnya di LBB itu tadi dipakai ya, tadi di video yang dicontohkan tadi di LBB itu pasti dipakai itu angkat tinggi itu, lutut angkat tinggi. Kemudian keseimbangan. Nah, latihan keseimbangan di alat tiup ini penting karena seperti dibilang tadi, megangnya begini, keseimbangannya akan lebih berat daripada perkusi yang udah alatnya nempel di badan dan cenderung diarahkan ke bawah sehingga lebih stabil gitu untuk berdiri. Nah, untuk di alat tiup itu butuh latihan keseimbangan lebih banyak. Ini biasanya 2 kali lebih banyak katanya dari perkusi untuk latihan keseimbangan di alat tiup. Terus kekuatan lengan dan tangan. Jadi push up juga harus full karena kita mau ininya benar-benar berhasil ya, jadi push up-nya juga harus full sampai belakang gitu, sampai bawah bener gitu ya, jangan nanggung-nanggung push up nanggung gitu ya. Nah, itu harus dilatih sampai si anak alat tiup tuh bisa benar-benar push up full gitu. Dan kardionya harus banyak. Jadi kalau anak alat tiup tuh harusnya perutnya rata-rata ya, bagus-bagus ya. Kardionya banyak gitu kan, nggak kayak anak perkusi agak buncit-buncit gitu. Oke.
All right, let me flip it around. Now for color guard, it's a little bit different. Color guard encounters more shoulder, hip, and knee injuries than the other sections because they're doing more dynamic movements with their body. They have to be able to have stability at their core and really focus on that in the warm-up and practice that you are doing. So to develop that shoulder stability, you have to practice putting all your weight through your arms, like we talked about with a plank earlier, and being able to transfer that weight from side to side. It's often missed, and we often just do static and leave it at that, and leave it in that plank position. You have to develop that ability to transfer the weight so that their shoulders get strong enough to spin or toss a flag effectively and not develop any shoulder issues. You can do this with your horns or hands in a different position for color guard, but building the muscles right here, they're on the outsides of your hip, are exactly what color guard members need to prevent knee issues. These are often neglected muscles and they have to be addressed. That's why I also have down here doing side planks for color guard. So a side plank isn't just the front plane of motion, it develops the outer planes of motion too on their obliques and down the sides of their hips. That builds the strength up in a 360-degree manner so their legs are strong enough to resist any demands that they do.
Oke, ini buat color guard, Bayu mau yang jelas itu tadi adalah bahu, pinggang, planks gitu ya.
Betul. Jadi kalau tadi kata Dr. Elliot, color guard yang paling banyak dapat injury, dapat cedera karena punya movement yang paling dinamis. Jadinya color guard harus punya stability in core-nya tuh lebih baik dari teman-teman yang lainnya. Nah, beberapa exercise yang bisa dilakukan adalah tadi yang dijelaskan di gambar ya, ada shoulder tap untuk bisa membuat kekuatan di setiap bahu atau di setiap shoulder-nya itu punya kekuatan yang lebih kuat lagi dan lebih memadai buat color guard bisa toss, bisa lempar, dan lain sebagainya. Lalu juga hip abduction yang tadi kita lihat di gambarnya juga, supaya hipnya juga terbangun ototnya, karena color guard kan punya banyak movement dengan area hip juga teman-teman, dan juga ada side planks. Nah, but I have one interesting question for Dr. Elliot because we are discussing about the color guard. Here in Indonesia, especially for our competition, the horn players and also the percussion players, most likely they're also going to be the color guard for the show. So is that means that the percussionist and also the horn player have to also do the exercise for the color guard?
Yes, you have
Wow.
to be strong enough.
All right.
So let's do a quick film study. Let me
Yes.
flip this camera around.
Okay.
Share screen share. So I'm going to give you an example. I apologize if you are the person in this video that I'm about to point out. Zoom in right here. I want you to watch the back row. It is not the tuba player. It is the person on the far side of the back row.
Which one?
Wait for it, right there. That one.
Yang paling kiri.
When you go into the turn, you see that horn bouncing all over the place?
Yes.
And the core control that's lacking. Let me stop screen share. So he's doing this, right? But here down is not stable. So you have to, when we're talking about doing things like shoulder taps or a side plank, that's to develop the stability from here up to here so that your body is resilient and doesn't wear out anytime you're trying to add any motions, or it adds stability to that really fast speed march.
So, okay. So that person, so they need to more practice with shoulder taps and side planks, right? Because they have
one.
Because he
There's a
says
whole, I could give you a bunch of exercises for it.
Okay. But the basic is you need more stability for the
Right.
upper body.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And build that back strength.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
I'll show you a couple of other variations you can do with that. Let's see. Mountain climbers are very important for them.
mountain climbers.
But making sure that their butt is not bouncing up and down when they do this.
Oh, okay.
So if I'm doing that exercise to build the strength, it's not that. I want this. Same thing with the shoulder tap. It's here to here, not that. You have to have control from here down to make sure you're stable. You have to envision where that horn is going to be and keep your body sturdy from shoulders down to waist.
Okay. I will interpret it first. Oke, tadi yang bisa dilihat dari video LBJP tadi, ada satu anak itu yang main trombon ya, paling kiri ya itu ya, tadi paling kiri kelihatan itu upper body-nya nggak stabil sehingga alatnya mantul-mantul ya, bouncing tadi ya, doing terus badannya juga goyang. Itu artinya itu dari jauh tadi Dr. Elliot udah bisa ngelihat, oh ini anak ini upper body-nya nggak bagus gitu. Pelatihan upper body-nya nggak berhasil. Jadi tadi Dr. Elliot ngasih tahu beberapa yang harus dilatih supaya bisa melakukan LBJP yang seperti tadi, stabil upper body-nya gitu. Yaitu tadi yang khususnya ya untuk upper body itu adalah yang shoulder taps tadi, side planks, terus yang terakhir tadi mountain climbing tadi ya, cuman nggak boleh naik ya pantatnya ya Bayu ya, harus rata gitu kan ya, kakinya aja yang bergerak gitu ya. Oke Bayu bisa ditambahin untuk upper body tadi supaya di LBJP, jadi tadi seperti yang LBJP tadi bisa stabil alat tiupnya supaya suaranya nggak goyang-goyang. Bayu masih di mute.
Sorry Kak, karena supaya bisa lebih stabil, berarti kan kita harus memperkuat the core ya, yang tadi Dr. Elliot bilang gitu, core-nya atau kalau dalam bahasa Indonesia core itu adalah lock your core. Apa ini bahasa Indonesianya Kak Nimon?
Ya.
Ya. Nah jadi
semangat dasar tubuh ya.
Betul. Nah, jadi untuk bisa melakukan itu, ya tadi kan dikasih tahu ya teman-teman dengan mountain climber atau dengan si shoulder tap-nya. Cuman kadang anak-anak itu melakukannya dengan salah gitu, karena mereka bokongnya itu naik turun ketika melakukan, atau ketika shoulder tap juga mereka malah kayak terlalu berlebihan. Justru harusnya hanya kakinya saja atau hanya tangannya saja yang bergerak, sehingga itu bisa melatih memperkuat core-nya, core body-nya gitu, untuk bisa lebih stabil dalam melakukan challenge fisik yang ada gitu, teman-teman.
Yes.
Okay, Dr. Elliot, some of the participant is asking from the chat room if you can understand it, so you can direct answer it. Is it okay?
Let's see. Can you translate the questions for me?
Sure.
Bayu, silakan.
Oke, Kanimon, ini pertanyaan yang pertama tadi yang dari Mas Adi Nugroho tentang best dynamic stretching before LBJP or speed march. We have already
udah ya, udah barusan ya.
Oke, lalu pemanasan untuk LBJP dan LKKB bagaimana yang baik. Nah, tadi juga udah dibahas tentang dynamic stretching ya, Kanimon ya.
Ya.
Nah, I think we start with the question from PDBI Kota Blitar. They ask which one that we have to prioritize first. Is it the physical training to build the muscles, or the training to strengthen your breathing exercise, Doctor?
Both.
Both. Jadi
so here's how I break that up. How many rehearsals do you typically have per week?
Not so many. Actually, we have a problem with the timing of the exercise, because with our curriculum, etc. So that's why some of the participants asking about how the best effective training for we have with less time we have.
Yes.
So 2 things for that. Number 1 is they need to be doing things at home.
Yeah.
And number 2, well, you could also obviously do it virtually as a group if you're not in person. I'm going to put the link to our website on here. There are free at-home workouts on this website, or low-cost at-home workouts as well. So I have a free back-to-band workout that's excellent for you to build all the muscles you need. And then there is one that is a level above that called the couch to core workout. Those will help you develop the strength and conditioning you need on your own. Now, if you're talking about doing it together whenever you meet, you do need to address the breathing component while you are exercising. I try to do the breathing exercises with cardio and then with static exercises like planks. So I try to have them breathe while they're running around. And then when we're doing something like planks, we try to work on that conditioning of breathing while you're engaging your core. But you have to do both.
Okay, so that makes because as you said before that we need 6 to 8 weeks to adapt the neural associate of our body, right? So that's there is nothing instantly built in. So that's the big point for me, because you need to do it at home. So I will interpret to the participant. Jadi teman-teman, mudah-mudahan di sini ada bapak-bapak pejabatnya juga, bahwa anak-anak itu butuh latihan banyak karena tidak ada yang bisa instan. Semua tadi pertanyaan yang tadi kakak dari Blitar ya, Bay ya.
Betul.
Nah itu harus prioritas mana dalam waktu yang sesingkat-singkatnya. Nggak ada yang bisa dicapai dalam waktu instan, dalam waktu sesingkat-singkatnya. Salah satu caranya adalah latihan di rumah. Mudah-mudahan di sini kalau ada pejabat atau apa bapak-bapak yang ada hadir di sini bisa kasih saran bahwa tidak ada yang instan. Anak-anak butuh latihan, butuh waktu yang banyak. Tolong disediakan waktunya. Karena seperti tadi materi tadi untuk saraf beradaptasi terhadap tubuh, terhadap perubahan tubuh itu butuh 6-8 minggu baru kita bisa masuk ke tahap berikutnya gitu. Jadi benar-benar butuh, tidak ada yang instan, sama seperti halnya seperti main musik ataupun menari dan color guard yang koreonya color guard itu tidak ada yang bisa instan.
Ya, betul banget. Semoga bisa diserap juga ya teman-teman ya. Gitu. Jadi ya kita tidak bisa memilih mana yang mau dikorbankan karena semua harus punya porsinya masing-masing. Kalau memang bertemu latihannya terbatas ya baik kita harus kasih homework untuk our students do at home ya untuk mereka bisa melakukan dan membangun secara konsisten baik pernafasannya maupun ketahanan fisiknya. Oke, kita lanjut ke pertanyaan berikutnya. We proceed to the next question. Kak Nimon, ini ada pertanyaan dari Dodi Putra tentang speed march dan juga enduro, tentang otot mana yang harus dibangun. Tadi kita di awal sudah bahas ya Kak, bahwa harusnya semuanya ya secara balance. We have to build the balance of the muscles, not only focusing on certain kind of muscles. Dan
itu speed march karena speed tadi ada dibahas di materi yang awal tadi. Untuk speed itu kan butuh upper body lebih stabil ya, artinya keseimbangan harus lebih tinggi ya, karena makin tinggi speednya makin tinggi keseimbangan yang dibutuhkan.
Ya, dengan latihan satu kaki tadi ya, with one leg exercise even more to maintain the balance of the body. Nah, pertanyaan menarik dari M. Sofwani, is there any additional or special exercise for the players or the performers who has the historic medical condition like asthma, Doctor?
Yes, you need to make sure that you're talking to your doctor first and that it's medically appropriate for you to be doing the competitive aspect of this. And if that's something you were dealing with, you really have to be focused on the training before the contests. You have to be months ahead of the competitions. And you have to be doing probably more training on your own to make sure that you can handle the breathing part of these competitions.
Oke. Jadi pastinya kita harus konsultasi dulu juga sama dokternya ya, Kanimon ya, dokter medical doctornya untuk bisa menentukan juga mana exercise yang lebih cocok buat yang bersangkutan. Pastinya nggak mungkin disamakan dengan teman-teman yang lainnya ya, Kanimon ya.
Iya. Ya, pastiin juga bisa dibuka itu ya websitenya ya, marchinghealth.com, www.marchinghealth.com, www.marchinghealth.com itu punyanya Pak Elliot itu di situ, marchinghealth.com. Untuk tadi beberapa pertanyaan yang memang sebenarnya ada di marchinghealth.com ini.
Ya. Nah, Kanimon, pertanyaan berikutnya, next question is that Dr. Elliot, do we need to incorporate flexibility training in our program?
The only reason you would need flexibility is if you can't do a certain movement that you need to be able to do. So
meaning
if
that
I'm watching the videos of performances in Indonesia, there are not a lot of movements that the average person can't already achieve. What I mean by that is no one is out there cutting splits or doing anything crazy flexibility wise. There's no backwards walking on your hands or anything like that. From what I see, I may be wrong. If I'm wrong, then tell me and I'll change my answer. But most people should have the flexibility to do everything they need to do on the band field.
Alright, jadi teman-teman butuh ya tetap flexibility-nya. Walaupun mungkin kalau yang tadi Dr. Elliot lihat di LBB mungkin dan juga di LBJP, LKKB mungkin tidak sebanyak itu, nggak se ekstrim itu gerakan-gerakan fleksibel yang harus dilakukan gitu, enggak gimnastik atau enggak yang lainnya gitu. Tapi mungkin bisa jadi ketika mungkin nanti teman-teman punya materi LUG buat color guard feature, they have to do gymnastic and like jumping and split di ground, atau mereka harus apa ya, itu juga itu akan mempengaruhi tingkat latihan flexibility-nya. Tapi selama tidak se ekstrem itu, tidak terlalu ini ya Kanimon ya, nggak yang harus gimana banget, kecuali memang ada kebutuhan ke sana gitu.
Sesuai kebutuhan ya.
Betul. So Dr. Elliot, actually, there is this one part of the category of the competition that we do the marching show, and then what's unique is that not the players, not the color guard players is dedicated as a color guard player, but during the percussion feature, the brass will like put their instruments away and they will suddenly become a color guard member, and then they will start doing all the color guards do. So this might be one of the moments that we need to focus more on the flexibility of the players, right?
Mm-hmm. So if you are trying to do a movement in color guard that you know really is difficult for you to do flexibility wise, right before you practice that, that's when you should stretch it. But you should have already done your dynamic warm up, because your muscles need to be loose and be warmed up prior to doing any flexibility. The best thing you can do actually is what we call eccentric training to gain flexibility, not static stretching. So most people think static stretching is the thing they should do for flexibility. That's not the case. So the majority of the time, people are tight in their hamstrings and their hip flexors, those two muscles, front and back. If I want to gain flexibility in my hamstrings to be able to do a split or to be able to do some of the color guard movements, I'm going to work on an exercise like this instead. Put my hands up and practice like that until I feel it pull back here, and then I'm going to pull myself back up. Not sit here and do this, because that's not going to get me there. There's no force behind this. But if I practice this, I'm putting my body weight on top of the muscle, and that's going to push it into flexibility faster. And I'm going to do a lot of reps of that, and I'm going to get the balance at the same time.
Okay, jadi teman-teman, let me translate this for you. Ketika kita mau mulai latihan untuk misalnya ketika anak-anak mulai mau latihan color guard nih untuk LUG, nah itulah saat dimana kita mulai melakukan pemanasan ulang untuk yang flexibility trainingnya. Tapi pastikan bahwa walaupun kita hari itu misalnya mau latihan untuk flexibility, tapi tetap di awal sebelum kita melakukan apapun, sebelum kita latihan apapun, tetap diawali dengan dynamic stretching-nya dulu. Gitu ya Kanimon ya?
Ya. I have some question about the static stretching.
Static.
Sure.
Yeah. Is it useful for this marching activity? Because it's one of the common mistakes that you said before. So is it useful for this our activity now?
I'm so glad that you're learning so much during this session. It's not very useful.
It's not very useful. Oh, okay. This it's very important. We must know this. So I just doing this. It's not useful.
It is afterwards, because it helps prevent some soreness and regain flexibility that you might lose during the actual session of whatever you're playing or marching around. It is not as useful prior to performance.
Okay.
So it helps you personally loosen up after the performance. Like if your back is kind of hurting, you can stretch it out. Or if your shoulders are hurting, you can stretch them out. But prior to athletic activity, you want to focus more on movement and the dynamic warm-up. Good question.
Oke, Bayu, tolong.
Jadi
Penting sekali
teman-teman,
soalnya.
kita selalu melakukan static stretching ya kan, selalu semuanya mungkin di
Iya, itu
Indonesia.
masalahnya.
Jangan do this and do this and do this and yeah, all the things with the static stretching. Ternyata itu tuh tidak terlalu bermanfaat untuk dilakukan, terutama juga sebelum penampilan gitu ya. Karena yang lebih efektif dilakukan adalah yang dynamic stretching tadi ya teman-teman. Nah kalau misalnya kita mau melakukan yang statik tadi, itu bisa dilakukan misalnya setelah penampilan nih ternyata ada rasa oke, saya ada cedera atau ada ngerasa nggak nyaman di punggung saya atau di tangan saya. Nah, itu kita bisa relaxing dengan melakukan static stretching-nya after gitu, setelah kita penampilan atau setelah latihan, setelah kita workout misalnya. Tapi sebelum atau ketika mempersiapkan diri untuk bisa menghadapi physical challenge yang akan dihadapi, itu akan lebih banyak dibantu oleh yang dynamic stretching-nya, teman-teman. Jadi saatnya kita mulai mengubah cara latihan sepertinya mulai sekarang ya. Oke. So, nah, oke, ini baru saja dijawab ya, Mas Prigel Manggolokusumo. Static exercise or stretching just after the
Correct.
or show. Yes. Oke, Kanimon, ada yang mau ditanyakan lagi?
Ada materi lagi nggak lanjutannya?
Okay, Dr. Elliot, do you have anything to say that you want to enlighten us with the subject?
Oh no, I think that's it. Do those after you perform static stretching. Make sure that you are prepping for the season. That's the big deal. Most groups start too late. You have to start somewhere, and starting somewhere is the starting line for whoever you are, wherever you are. We're all in different places physically and with fitness. So getting started is the first thing, and then just taking one step at a time. So it may be that your first step is to go on a walk. It may be that you're ready to start running a mile at a time. Wherever you are, taking that first point of action is very important for you. I really appreciate everyone having me on and being willing to jump in this early in the morning and get up and move with me and have some fun. This is the first official international clinic of 2021. So we're pretty hyped. I've had an absolute blast being able to touch base with you. If you're on Instagram or Facebook, take a screenshot and tag me at Marching Health and say something at Marching Health. Marching Health kicked my butt, whatever you want to say. I'd really like to be able to help you and be able to continue having conversations after this to help all the Indonesia marching bands. I'll put my tag in the chat.
So, teman-teman semua, semoga semua ilmunya bisa diaplikasikan dan sampai bertemu kembali pada event selanjutnya. Pastinya kita akan terus bersemangat to build the marching community of our country. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Have a good day. Bye.